Coming up, I'll tell you why you should fail as fast as you can, and then the true cost of weak men in the workforce and our society. And I'm going to coach you up. Let's go. Helping you win at work and in life so that you're making more money and experiencing more meaning doing what you were born to do. All right, fail fast. That is the message of today's show. Fail fast. Fail fast. Now that's countercultural. It's actually counterhuman if you think about it. You start mentioning the word failure to somebody, as in they could fail. If you're in some type of position of authority, parenting, coaching, teaching, leader, whatever, and they cinch up. We, when left alone with our own thoughts, we start thinking, what are the possibilities of failure? And what do we do? Right? We have this amygdala in the back of our brain, and it's protection. Fight or flight, and failure's in that range too. Not just always fear, but actually the fear of failure, and failure itself is this really negative thing, and all of a sudden we just get all worked up. And so nobody loves to fail. I'm not suggesting that you should love it. That'd make you a psychopath. But I don't think you should be so terrified of it. Because failure is a part of the process of success. There is no success without failure in any area of life. Any area. Financially, relationally, professionally, physically. Just go down the list. There is no success without failure. But we're so just freaked out about it. And because we're so freaked out about it, we work really, really hard. We come up with systems and protectionary measures of all sorts to avoid failure. And I get it. Except that you can't avoid failure. So I was thinking the other day, I'm going to teach on this. And I'm going to set it up. I'm going to give you just the thought so that if you just walked away from the show right now, and I don't want you to, you'd get the whole point. Fail fast. What do I mean when I say fail fast? Two things. Fail early on in life or in the process of whatever it is you're going after. Fail early, and then fail quickly. Fail early on in the process, and then fail quickly. Now let's break it down. That thing that you know you need to do, and I want this to hit us today. This is speaking to me, by the way. I'm speaking to me first and foremost. But I'm looking at this in every area of my life. This is not just professional context, but certainly in a professional context in your climb, your professional climb, the business you want to start. Fail fast. Early on in the process, you know your destination. You know the desired outcome. Now let's go after it, not with reckless abandon. I'm not suggesting recklessness, unnecessary failure. Well, that's just stupid. It's like me training my kid to ride a bike without training wheels or not even holding the bike, just standing there going, get back up, get back on it, do it again. The kid's going to fail unnecessarily. But what we do is we put on the knee pads, the elbow pads, or as my dad did it back in the day when there were no elbow and knee pads and helmets. My dad taught me to ride a bike on a stretch of grass behind our house. Why? Because he knew I'd keep more of my skin when I did wreck. And he held onto the seat. And he ran with me and eventually began to let off the seat sooner and sooner and sooner. And did I wreck? Did I crash? Yes, there was failure, not unnecessary failure. So I'm not suggesting that you just go headlong, kamikaze style, and just make stupid mistakes. No, but I'm saying there is failure in the process. So for instance, I know that I want to start this business and I'm going to have to test it on the side. And a part of the testing of the business is failure and then filtering the failure. You get that. So let's do it sooner rather than later. Let's just sit there and wind this thing up in our heads to where it's this big, giant monster when it shouldn't be. It's just a reality. You're going to fail. The example I like to give a lot on this show, because I hope it's very real to you all, is I didn't go to school for broadcasting. I started at the age of 33. I started doing high school football play-by-play. I'd never done play-by-play in my life. The first show I got as a Ramsey personality was Dave Ramsey going, we're going to give you a daily show leading into me on Sirius XM, and you're going to take callers. And I'd never done it on the air before, and I sucked. Compared to now, I sucked. I'm going to tell you, I sucked back then. It's a discipline that you got to learn. The only way for me to learn how to coach people live on the air in 6 or 8 minutes is the process of actually doing it. And so I embraced it. I will tell you, I was terrified. I was terrified. I didn't want to suck, but I knew that I was going to suck. But I stepped into it. And each day that went by, I got better and better, and it was incremental. And then all of a sudden, boom, one day I walked in here and it just was good. But you have to embrace the failure right up. So I knew it was something. It was my dream gig. Yes, dreamed of this national show. So boom, go do it. Jump in, fail fast. Now, let's talk about when I sucked. I remember being in the middle of calls. And Joe's in the booth with me today. He was in the booth back then. And I remember getting on the call and I'd kind of look at him. I'd go, that wasn't very good. But it was the truth. And here's what I did. I failed quickly. I didn't sit there and pout about it all day. In the moment, I made a couple quick mental notes. He'd give me some feedback. And we said, okay, I got to do that differently. And I go back and listen to it later in the day. And oh gosh, it was so painful to listen to. But then once I listened to it, I moved on. So this is the idea of don't soak in your failure. Filter the failure, yes. This is the idea. Fail quick. Like accept that it wasn't very good. Figure out why. So here's the formula. Accept, reflect, move on. That's what I mean by quickly. We're going to fail fast. That's early on. We're going to get into it and just embrace the fact that I'm not going to be good when I start, but I'm going to do it. But then we're going to look at what we do, and we know we failed. We're going to say, all right, I'm going to accept it because, hey, I told myself this was part of the process. I knew it. There is no progress without failing. John Maxwell, a mentor of mine, wrote a book called Failing Forward. He eventually rewrote it, tweaked it, put a new title on it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you learn instead of lose. This is the idea. So I'm going to accept it. I'm going to reflect on what I did wrong, where I can be better, and now I'm going to move on. I'm going to move on. And so that means leaving the emotions behind or creating a necessary ending with a person or a place or whatever. Let's move on. No pity parties. No sitting around going, I wasn't very good today. No, it's part of the deal. Now, why? Why do I tell you to fail fast? In other words, fail early and fail quickly? Because this is where the progress comes, and you are meant to do something that the world needs. Now let's go do it.
You were created to fill a unique role through your work, but it can feel overwhelming to figure out what that is. That's why I created the Get Clear Career Assessment. In just 15 minutes, you'll get customized results that clarify what you do best, the work you love to do, and the results that motivate you. All this helps you discover what you were born to do. And you'll get a list of professional possibilities to help you in your job search. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/assessment.
Hey, if you are enjoying this show on YouTube, would you please subscribe and give us a good comment, share. And if you're listening via podcast, give us a 5-star review and give us a follow. And share. If this is encouraging you, you got to believe there are other people out there that need to be encouraged as well. We're growing. We're going to be making some really fun changes. More on that soon. And I just want you all to know I appreciate you. You being encouraged, being equipped to keep moving forward, to be uniquely you, is why I get out of bed. My voice and my throat feel like I've had a bunch of squirrels running around inside my throat today. But here I am pressing on. Why? Because I got the juice, and literally got some juice right here. Boy, this tastes terrible, but it's supposedly good for me. Let's talk about male mediocrity. Oh boy, somebody has to take these subjects on. And why not me, the middle-aged white male? Because it turns out that we've got a lot of mediocrity among white men. Now, I'm not bashing white men like maybe other people will, so if you're hearing that and you don't know me very well, don't freak out. I'm just saying I'm going to call out what I see here, which is a softness, a wussiness that exists in this country. And it is a result of decades and decades and decades of coddling. And it's now becoming a bigger problem. It's not just affecting white guys. It's affecting everybody. Now, it's not just related to white guys, right? But there's just there's a larger proportion. And as again, I can say it, so I'm going to say it. I've got an article here from Fortune, and it's written by Ross McCammon. And I'm just going to pull out a couple things that he cites. And because he wrote a book called Works Well with Others. And in the book, kind of tells his story of being a magazine editor in Texas. Then he moves to New York City. And, you know, that's a different world. Certainly, you know, back in the early 2000s and even now. I mean, you go from somewhere in Texas and you go to New York City, there's a different energy there. Certainly pre-COVID, much more formal atmosphere. I think that's still the case. And so just a different world, a different standard, different pace up there in New York City. I love it. So the whole book thesis is that it was about being well-liked. In other words, winning with people, right? That's what the entire book was about, winning with people. And it wasn't written for just guys, but from his perspective. And so he's got chapters on shaking hands, making small talk, giving a toast, how to have a meaningful lunch, conversation, these kinds of things. And, you know, just kind of pointing out, these are the deficiencies that I had, you know, and if I were going to add to the list, we got a whole generation of men who wear leather shoes that I presume cost a decent amount of money, and they don't know how to shine their shoes. And every time I say that around this office, like my colleague George Campbell laughs at me, but he also says, hey, would you mind polishing my boots for me? And I have before, because I have a shoe shine kit in my desk. Why? I'll tell you why. Don't miss what I'm saying here. I'm not trying to entertain you. That's called presentation. Well, some of you go, well, Ken, that doesn't matter. Well, if it doesn't matter, then why didn't they sell them that way? Well, you say, well, they do. Everybody's buying jeans with holes in them. Okay, great, but that's a different world. When in Rome. So if you're going to buy a nice pair of leather shoes, how about keeping them nice and not let them look like your kid's been, you know, raking the Legos over the toes? And, you know, what are you doing? Are you walking in a way where you just scrape your toes on the sidewalk? I mean, this is a serious thing. It really is. It's a presentation thing. It means I've thought out today's meeting. I want to look my best. I'm bringing my best. That's what it really means. And so thus this book. And he wrote about things like looking people in the eye and shaking their hands. And nobody shakes hands anymore. I know that became a COVID thing, but even before that, it was becoming less and less of a thing. And why do I shake another dude's hand? Or quite frankly, a lady's hand. I look them in the eye. And the shaking of the hand, whether you like it or not, is just a sign of respect. That's all it is. It's an honor thing. I don't just do it for dudes, I do it for women. Shake hands. How you doing? Good to meet you, ma'am. Look them in the eye. Smile. It's a sign of respect and honor. Well, mediocrity at work. So the article, he goes on to, you know, talk about how COVID began to harm people's skills because so many people were, you know, isolated. And that really did happen. I understand that. I was not isolated, thankfully. I wouldn't have lasted. But this is a very important thing that he writes. was he's talking about just basic competencies. Basic human interactions is what he's talking about. Okay, and this is a very interesting paragraph. I'm going to read this one word for word. He said, whether they are truly competent or not, many men are very good at performing competence. Now, performing competence. They're not competent. They're not a doctor, but they play one on TV, right? It's a theatrical performance. And I think he's right. And this is very interesting. He says it's kind of easy. You don't talk a lot in meetings. And when you do, you ask questions of the people who made assertions or repeat and praise good points others made. You ride the wake of the boldness and risk-taking of others. Now that is spot on. Turns out mediocrity is easy. Now, I came at this because I do think a lot of dudes are doing this, but this is not just a male thing. Women can do it too. But mediocrity is really easy. You essentially ride the backs of other people. You never put yourself out there. You don't assert anything in the meeting that's from your head, that's original, that would require any risk, or that would require you to be actually plugged in. You don't even have to pay attention in a meeting to look like you're paying attention in a meeting. Come on. Now, why do I share this? Because increasingly on this show, and I'm not going to stop, we're going to be doing some deep dives in the days ahead. I'm going to bring on experts. I'm diving in deep. This 7 million men who are of working age and working ability who aren't working is a cultural crisis. Those are able-bodied men who could be filling in the gaps that we have. We saw another robust jobs report where the job economy in January created 517,000 new jobs, unemployment rate as low as it's ever been, inflation still stubborn. We can't find workers. Yes, we can. They're sitting at home with their baby mama. They're sitting at home with mom and dad, whoever. That's what they're doing. Someone else is supporting them, and they're at home getting rushes of dopamine on social media, playing video games, whatever they're trying to do. And the data shares that you have a lot of men that are not college educated who wanted to get further in life. They didn't get where they wanted to go. They had that little bit of hardship and it didn't work for them, and they don't like their status. So instead of improving their status, they're checking out and taking their ball and going home. It's the equivalent of playing a schoolyard game. Watch me. It's the equivalent of playing a schoolyard game, or when you were a kid, elementary age, and you're playing a game and you get behind, and instead of trying to win and come back, you quit. My younger brother used to do it to me all the time. Drove me nuts. I was beating his butt in a game of one-on-one basketball because I'm 3.5 years older than him, and he would just quit. Now, it's okay for my brother. He's now a big-time golf coach and a champion. But he was 7. It's okay for him. He's 7. Well, we got a bunch of dudes acting like 7-year-olds. I'm not winning in life. I don't think I got a chance to win. But instead of doing something about it, they say, I'm quitting and I'm out. And people are supporting them. And then you got guys that are, the leading group of quiet quitters are white men, college educated. They're just faking it. It's called performing competence, as this author puts it. It's beautiful. It's exactly what it is. It's going through the motions, faking it. I think it's stealing. Stealing from the world because you aren't being the best that you could possibly be.
If the thought of attending a networking event makes you break out in hives, you're not alone. And I'll let you in on a secret. Networking in the traditional sense doesn't work, but genuine connection is all about relationships. That's why we created Networking the Right Way. This free guide is the low-pressure, high-impact way to overcome the awkwardness, build real relationships, and turn your connections into opportunities. To get the guide, go to kencoleman.com/network.
All right. Artificial intelligence. Who's already sick of hearing about it? I'm kidding. It's actually here to stay, and you don't need to be freaked out. And I'm going to keep informing you in my quest to be a man of the people. Headline from a website, futurism.com, OpenAI reportedly hiring army of developers to train AI to replace entry-level coders. Now, earlier on the show this month, I've been talking about it. We're going to talk about it some more because it is here to stay. ChatGPT is going to revolutionize this world way more than Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. You put them all together, they're going to pale in comparison to the true influence of ChatGPT. I'm just telling you. And I'm all for the human element. The human element will always be valuable. So hear me say, you don't need to be scared of AI replacing you. Scared of AI as it relates to robots, hurting people. I'm officially on that side of the club, but that's not the topic of my show. And that's not my area. But yeah, have you seen some of these robots on the internets with guns? Yikes, man. By the way, how is it that Hollywood always is so far ahead of everybody else? For all the crap we give Hollywood and how unrealistic they are. The Terminator, I mean, think about it. All right. I can't help you on AI and fears in that lane. Find yourself a good cave when everybody starts, when countries start, lining up robot armies, Maybe Star Wars is going to be a thing. I don't know. But that's not my lane. But AI replacing you, I think it's going to challenge you. I think you'll be enhanced by it if you embrace it. But let's look here. Let's see. A new report from Semaphore alleges that Silicon Valley darling and ChatGPT creator OpenAI, that's the company, has been making major moves to hire an army of outside contractors to better train a model how to code. An operation that could ultimately render entry-level coding jobs extinct. All right, now, when you read things like this, the operating word here in this sentence is could. They're not saying it's going to. They're saying it could. Again, I'd rather you look at that and go, it might change what entry-level coding looks like, but there will still be entry-level, and you will still need humans. And I got to tell you, there's a lot smarter people than I am that are studying this who say that AI in a coding job is not going to replace a human. The human informs the AI enhances the human. So I really believe that. So will it alter the marketplace as it relates to what maybe a human did before versus what they do now? Without question. But no need to be, wringing your hands, clutching at pearls. The company has brought on roughly 1,000 of these contractors. Now, again, this is reported, so we don't know this for sure. Most of whom live in regions like Latin America and Eastern Europe. Now, that is significant. So you want to know what the story in the story is? It's that OpenAI is going out and they're hiring base level contract coders from developing countries, third world countries. Why are they doing that? For those not watching, I'm rubbing my fingers together in the old classic money sign. There's a lot less money. You hire a kid in Ecuador versus a kid in Arkansas, there's a big difference. And that's why they're doing it. They're not playing around. They are stacking the talent, and they're looking for base level stuff, and they know they'd have to pay someone 2-3x what they're paying someone in South America or Europe. Now, the reason I bring that up is I have been warning those of you who are in the camp of, I'm only going to do remote work, Ken. I'm never coming back to the office, and they can't make me. Well, the tide has turned and is continuing to turn. They may not be able to make you, but I guarantee you they can replace you. And this is the example. I've reported this on the show. If you take a stance, if you are a white-collar worker in a technology job specifically, but even beyond that, you're a white-collar worker that makes over 6 figures, plus your benefit package, plus, whatever, and your company wants you to come back to the office and you say, nope, I'm not doing it, and you think you're going to outweigh them, I'm telling you right now, they will ship your job overseas to somebody who can do it for half. Half the salary, half the benefits, half of everything, maybe even more. And again, when I say things like this, I always love that people come after me and they go, oh, Ken is so anti-remote work. No, I'm not. It's like me saying I'm anti-sunlight because I say you should put some sunscreen on. You got to prepare. You got to be careful. And if that's your game, you go get it. I'm not fundamentally against it. I don't think it's the best for culture, but that's a whole separate argument. But hear me say, I'm just warning you because I'm reading this stuff. Economists are studying companies that are already doing this. And let me tell you something. I said this last week. I'm going to say it again. You know what really concerns me about unrest in this country? Yes, there's some racial stuff that scares me, and there's the authoritarianism, the totalitarianism that we saw in COVID. All those things concern me, but that's not my show. I'll tell you what is my show, is warning you all, preparing you all, coaching you all to win professionally. And I'm going to tell you something right now. If companies start shipping off white-collar jobs overseas to someone who can do that remotely for half, you're going to see unrest like never before in this country. Because you start messing with somebody's paycheck, and out come the pitchforks. And I'm not an alarmist, but I'm just telling you, the leverage is shifting back to the employer. And listen, I've been coming after these big time public companies that are laying people off by the tens and 12,000s because I said they don't care about you. They care about their stock price. They could keep you and still make good money. They could. Google laid off 12,000 people. I'm not anti-Google. I'm just calling it as I see it. But hear me say, they'll lay you off in a second for their stock price. You think they won't ship your job overseas in half a second? Oh, man, they will. So I'm just telling you, what fight do you want to fight? What fight do you want to fight? And so here we go. Back to the main issue. If you're a developer, you're going to be fine. Always stay up to date with what's going on. Pay attention to the trends. I don't think entry level is going to be replaced completely. I think it's going to evolve. But as a developer and somebody who's in tech, let me tell you this, the more you can embrace AI, the faster you can embrace it, the better off you're going to be. That's the whole point. And there's no reason to be scared. But, we got all these headlines. Oh, and it's going to keep coming, by the way. Oh, robots are going to replace you. Robots are going to replace you. No, they're not. Because let me tell you what AI cannot do. AI cannot be creative. It just can't. Now, you can, as a human, give the AI stuff that it can create from, but it cannot. Now, if you go on to ChatGPT and say, write me an article on in the voice of Ken Coleman on the meaning of work or purpose, and it'll go pull it for you. But it's pulling from articles that I've written. AI didn't come up with the original thought. You're original. You're a unique combination of talent and passion. And you have a heart for results that matter deeply. No machine's going to replace you. Everybody take a deep breath and just keep being who you are uniquely born to be.
So you just landed the new job. Congratulations. You've made it past the interviews, and now it's time to onboard with excellence. That's why I created How to Stand Out at Your New Job. This free checklist will help you succeed from day one and may even help you get promoted. These practical steps set you up to add value, help your team win, exceed your leader's expectations, and ultimately set you up for a successful transition. To get started, just go to kencoleman.com/new.
You are not stuck. You have chosen to stay put because you're afraid that something bad's going to happen, or you doubt that something good is going to happen. So if that's you, I'm here to help you get unstuck. And we're going to just dive into what's holding you back from a fear or doubt standpoint. And I promise you, before you know it, you're going to be moving forward, and the world needs what you have. Eric is up in Kingsport, Tennessee. Eric, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for staying so fired up and helping us out.
Well, I appreciate that, brother. What's up?
Well, I recently early retired because I was completely burnt out.
Yeah.
And, because of the family and stuff, I need to get back in the market. But the reasons for the burnout have me afraid.
All right. Tell me what those reasons were.
So, it was nights, weekends, super long hours, back-to-back, basically instead of back-to-back projects with breaks in between, it was waves of projects overlapping each other.
So it sounds like exhaustion and a lack of connection with your family.
Yeah, and a lack of connection with the coworkers. There's really no team, no team camaraderie there.
Which all that would do is allow you to not burn out as quick.
Yeah.
But when you're going and you're physically exhausted, and then you're emotionally disconnected from your family, so now there's exhaustion there. And then you've got no team where you feel like, all right, at least I'm in the trenches. I'm in the foxhole with the team. That just makes it burn out. That makes you burn out faster, man. Your heart cannot keep that up. So I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to be afraid of that, and I'll tell you why. You now know what to look for. Having been in the middle of that storm or having fought that battle, you know what it looks like, sounds like, smells like, everything, correct?
Yes.
So using that knowledge from your experience, I don't think you should be afraid of allowing that to happen again, because now you know what to look for ahead of time. You know the questions to ask in researching a company. You know the questions to ask in the interview process. True?
I'm learning.
No. Okay. I'll go with you. I know what you're saying. You're going, Ken, I don't know exactly how to word it. I'm not talking about that. You know what to look for, yes or no?
Absolutely. From a leadership and
yes,
workload and hours and the calls in the middle of the night and on weekends, and absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the great news is you got all this negative experience for you to go, I can tell you what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to do this. 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 And so we go, all right. And so we start looking for a healthier place. I would suggest to you, you might be somebody who was doing the right thing in the wrong place.
You're not the first person to tell me that.
Well, now that's very exciting. And the reason that's exciting is because that can create a lot of confusion. It's a weird emotional cocktail. It's like,
oh, you're not kidding.
Yeah. When you think about the work, you go, oh man, I love the work. I love that I get to do this. But then the way you're doing it, the where you're doing it, the how you're doing it is not right. And you start to go, what? It's just like that all day long. It looks like your head and heart are just arguing with each other.
Yes.
Feels like I've had this conversation before. So here's why I think that's a good thing. Sorry, folks. Excuse my throat. It's all about the right place. So for you getting back in, Eric, we're not worried about what am I going to do. We know what you're going to do. We're going to do what you did before. There's terrific clarity and confidence there. Yes?
Yes and no.
No. Yes. Yes.
The things that I know I do well, yes, I want to do those things.
Yeah,
again.
but we're going to
Absolutely, yes.
we're going to do it in a different place, and maybe because of a different place, a different way.
Yes,
That's
that
what
is
I'm saying.
absolutely right.
That's what I'm
Yes.
saying. So step forward with confidence. So the opposite of fear is what?
The confidence or faith.
Yeah. So there you go.
Hmm.
So now all this is you looking, and you looking intentionally, and you looking consistently, and you don't quit looking. You know exactly what you want. Lay it out. Write it out today. This is what I'm looking for in an environment that I believe is a healthy culture. This is the type of work I want to do. And just go after it, Eric. No more thinking. Let's start doing it. When you see it, you'll know it. You know this. Thanks for the call.
Did you know that just like a product, you have a personal brand? It's the image or impression others form about you based on your interactions. And whether we realize it or not, our personal brand impacts opportunities to grow in our careers. That's why our team created the Personal Brand Survey. It's free, and it will give you personal and professional feedback so you can own your strengths and uncover any blind spots holding you back. To get started, go to kencoleman.com/brand.
That makes me want to shake my shoulders a little bit, but I'm going to spare our audience. Dreaming about where you want to be is only half the equation. You got to see where you're headed so you know the next right step to take. And when it comes to your finances, knowing where you're going and will keep you on track, even when life throws its detours your way. There's a brand new feature in our world-class Every Dollar budgeting app here at Ramsey Solutions that will keep you motivated and help you reach your goals. It's called the Financial Roadmap. And it's all about visualizing your progress. And when you can visualize your progress, that's the juice. Every time. You know you're making a difference. So all you got to do is fill in your numbers like your age, income, and current savings, and you'll get an idea of when you can expect to hit your next big milestone. If you want to play with the numbers and change them, you can see how you can reach your goals faster. That's why this thing is amazing. Now, here's the best part. Premium users already have access to this great feature, and the free users can test drive it, plus all the other great premiums with your 14-day free trial. Here's where you go. everydollar.com/updates. everydollar.com/updates. All right, Knoxville, Tennessee is where we go next. James is there. James, you're on the Ken Coleman Show.
Hey, Ken, thanks for taking my call.
You bet, James. How can I help today?
Well, the long and short of it is I don't feel like I really have much of a work-life balance, and the compensation that I receive, I don't feel like there's a good compromise there. So I guess what I'm looking for is a career that's, financially, mentally, and emotionally rewarding.
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like I really have that right now.
Right. Okay. So we need a destination, because the destination then allows us to start looking for the right environment. Because
Right.
so we're looking at the work first, the role in the work, and then we want to make sure that it's in a healthy place.
Right.
So what do you know? What do you don't know? What do you think about? What do you dream about? What's something you wondered about maybe when you were a high schooler?
Well, I'm an insurance agent, and I've been in this industry since, 2018. As a high school kid, I didn't really know what road I wanted to go down. This just kind of came about through. I grew up in a blue collar community. I've been a blue collar guy my whole life.
What do you wonder about? What do you wonder about, James? You want to still?
Well,
come on, man.
I tell you what gives me the juice.
There we go.
I'm a musician.
Okay. What do you play?
And I'm a bass player, and I play drums as well.
All right. And what do you make as an insurance agent?
Last year I made $56K.
Can you make $60,000 a year in the Knoxville, Tennessee area being a bass and drum player?
No.
All right. Well, but that's okay. But
no,
you said it gives.
I don't think so.
All right. Well, here's the deal. But now we're on the right path, though, because we know, look, we can do that on the side.
Right.
Are you good enough that you can gig on the weekends just because you love it?
I've been told that I was. I've been in multiple bands before, so I mean, there's that.
Well, why don't we just try? And what if they just pay you $200? I don't know what the going rate is.
Right.
Guys in the booth in there, Damon, what is a musician in the Nashville area? What do you think they make, Franklin, Tennessee, gigging at a restaurant for 5 hours on a Friday?
I'd say they could probably make $500 a week if they're not studio musicians, if they're just out in the bars.
All right, so James, it's just an idea. You got me?
I got you.
So here's the deal. Why am I talking about that? One,
well, because
it's going to get your heart. It's going to get your heart flowing again, right?
Right.
And it's not enough to live on, but I just think you ought to do it. I think it's going to put you in a good head and heart space. We're not, maybe you save up for a vacation with all the little side gigs you do as a musician. But that's not what I'm asking. What is the work that you know you're best at doing? What would you go do tomorrow? Would you stay in insurance or would you get out? Let's start with that.
Well, I would probably take my leave from that.
Right. And so what do you do well? Let's just focus on something you do well.
I'm a huge people person. I love to help people.
How do you love to help people?
That's kind of a broad stroke of a brush, but
that's okay. I'm going to get there now. How do you like to help people? Imagine I was paying you right now. Let's forget about job title. Let's forget about super specifics. Let's say I paid you really well during the day and you were helping people. What would be the way you said, Ken, if I can help people this way, it'd be a good day?
Well, I've got a little bit of a history. Myself, I've suffered from clinical depression for probably the last 18 years of my life. And I was diagnosed with that a couple of years ago. I didn't know what it was. I just knew something wasn't right.
Yeah.
I really like to help people overcome their issues so they don't have to go down the road as long as I did.
What happened? Are you comfortable telling me what happened?
I can't really pinpoint what happened. I do know there are some things.
I bet you it wasn't so much experience; it was environment. I'm guessing. Is that true?
Well, it was. I can't blame it on my home life. I had a great home life growing up. My parents were very involved and very active in my life, and they still are.
Okay. Do you want to be a counselor?
That would be something that I would entertain the thoughts of.
Okay. So
my wife tells me all the time, you should really think about counseling people with everything that you've been through.
I think you need to listen to your wife. So now let me just tell you some practical steps. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to give you my Get Clear career assessment. I want you to take it. Okay?
Yes, sir.
And I want you to listen to your wife and go, what would it take to get a counseling degree? What would that cost? We don't need to get a fancy one. Nobody gives a crud where you went to counseling school. Nobody cares where you got your degree. They just want to know, I'm hurting. Can you help me?
Right.
So let's do that research. All right, now listen. Okay. Hold on. I'm going to give you more ideas because I don't want you talking yourself out of this. I want you walking away on this phone call with about 3 or 4 ways to go. I'm curious. Don't overthink this. Just spout it out.
Right.
Is there an age demographic or a group of people that you would love to help the most?
Younger people, teenage, later teen, early 20s.
All right.
I'm in my mid 30s myself.
Do you have a college degree?
No, sir, I don't.
All right, no big deal. I'm just asking. Here's why. I'm going to throw out some ideas of maybe working in a high school as a guidance counselor.
Uh-huh.
You got to get a degree for that because of the school systems. Right. But I mean, are there any ministries? Are there government agencies that are providing services to these young people, at-risk youth? That's where you want to be, man. I just get this feeling, James, you're a big old guy. Is that true?
Yes, I am.
Isn't that funny? Because I'm a little guy, so there's no judgment. I'm jealous of all big guys. Tell me how big you are, James, if you don't mind.
I'm about 6'3", probably 350 pounds.
Man, let me tell you something. And that smile on you, I mean, you're the jolly giant. Am I right?
I've been told that once before.
Listen, dude. Listen.
I've heard that.
Listen, you look like an NFL lineman. There's some real stature opportunities there for a young man to look at you. You're a man. They look at me coming and they go, "What happened to him? He didn't finish growing." You understand what I'm saying? I want you to embrace that size, that personality that you have. And I think meeting young men, I'm trying to power through, folks. I apologize. Meeting young men where they are.
Right.
That's huge. Do you see that?
Yeah, I do.
You're going to be able
to. When I was going through this, and my wife would tell you too, I would not talk to anybody about it. I didn't want to talk to anybody about it. She knew about it.
Yeah.
But that was as far as it went. And finally, through her pleas, I got the help that I needed.
Man, I'm going to tell you something. I'm not focusing on your size, but I'm trying to help you see how unique you are. The fact of the matter is, James, you'll be able to reach young people that I would never even get their attention, but you'll be able to.
Right.
So if it's young people, your homework assignment is to find jobs that pay $60,000 or more. This is just a research project. You can do this before you go to bed tonight. What are the jobs that are meeting young people, maybe specifically young men, and you just pick an age, 16 to 25, I don't care. You know where they are. Who's helping them in the Knoxville area? Yeah. How are they helping them? What jobs do they have? Not the ones that are available, just jobs. So I know what my opportunity is. And then that's the process of getting clear, as I write in the book, Paycheck to Purpose. Then the second step is, once I know I want to do that, I got to get qualified. I'm going to give you my book, From Paycheck to Purpose, that'll walk you through step by step what to do. James, you're going to make a huge difference in the lives of young people. Thank you for calling me.
Thanks for listening to The Ken Coleman Show. For more, you can find the show on demand wherever you listen to podcasts and watch the show on YouTube. You can also find Ken across all social media by following @Ken Coleman.